So I wanted to give you a little bit of an insight into my story. It started probably when I was maybe 9 or 10 years old. I was a young football or soccer player, depending on where you are in the world, in a junior side that my father coached. And I can remember sitting there in the dressing room before a game, while he would stood at one end and he would read out the team sheet. And quite often I wasn't on it. And I can remember I was really, really gutted. I felt deep down, I kept thinking, well, why? Maybe I'm not good enough. But I always felt that I had to work harder than anybody else to prove myself. And so I ended up, I kind of became this achiever. I tried to excel and be the absolute best at everything I did, whether that was schoolwork or exams, or sport, or even in business or my career. And I can often remember saying things like, if I don't think I can win, I don't want to take part. Because I was really searching for this pinnacle of success, what it was that would make me good enough, if you like. And on reflection, what I was really wanting was, what would earn me the love and respect of my family and my peers and more importantly, my father and mother. And that led to me continually looking for, the next goal. So whatever success I had, it never felt like it was good enough. Or if I did have success, I felt like, I was an imposter. I felt like it was just luck, and someday someone was gonna find out about me and expose me to the world. And as my life progressed and I went into the world of work, I did have some success. I got into sales and business development. I worked my way up. I became the regional sales manager for a major company. I had all the trappings that went with that: the car, the company expense account. But it never felt right. It always felt like something was missing. I couldn't quite ever work out what it was. I was continually striving for this unattainable goal, this unattainable level, this what would make me good enough. And my first foray into the world of personal development was in 2005. I read a book which had a huge impact on me. It was a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, and after I'd read that, I decided, maybe what it is I need to be in business for myself. So I decided to set up my own property business, and I had success. It was on a different level though. Things were going really well, so much so that even in 2007, when I was made redundant from my sales position, from my career that I'd worked my way up in, it didn't really affect me significantly. I just made this decision that, well, I'm going to move into the business that I've set up full time. And alongside the Rich Dad Poor Dad philosophy, as that business grew, I took some of the profits and I invested a large portion of them, my perceived profit, if you like, with an investment firm. Spreading my risk, putting some aside for a rainy day, all the sorts of things that we were conditioned to believe. And I finally started to feel like things were really working in my favour. I had a direction. I had this goal. I felt like I was achieving something. I felt like I was becoming good enough. And then in 2008, we had the worst financial crisis in recent times. My property business crashed. It was like someone turned a tap off, switched a light switch. It was so quick, and it was just such a major blow. The transition into being a business owner, I just started to get all those feelings back again. But I remember, I've spread my risk. I'd not put all my eggs in one basket. And I turned to my investment. I wanted to withdraw some of the capital and some of the profit that was showing in that investment, just to kind of support us through that difficult time. It was then that I found that, the company was just a shell, really. It was run by a crook, a criminal. There was no investment company. In fact, there was no money for that matter. I was absolutely crushed. It was a real blow. I couldn't help but think, what am I going to do? How am I going to support my family? And importantly, how would I keep our home? I just felt like this was another reminder, another kind of knife, if you like, that said, but you're not good enough. This imposter, this person you think you are, you're not, and you've been found out. You've been left wanting, and it was that was difficult. I really struggled with trying to come to terms with that. And then in March 2010, things took a real turn. They spiraled further down when my wife and I were involved in a serious road traffic accident, and when I say serious, it was serious enough that the emergency services didn't expect us to make it out alive when they arrived on the scene. We did, obviously, but it meant that neither of us could work for about 12 months, almost a year. And any savings that we had left were rapidly dwindling, and I just felt like I was sinking lower and lower and lower. And I was faced with the real potential of losing our home. We had mounting debts, legal bills, unable to work. I was rapidly running out of options. I couldn't see a light at the end of the tunnel, and I made a decision that I felt was my only option at that time, and that was to declare myself bankrupt. And that was, I felt at the time, was the lowest point in my life. I couldn't see a way forward. I felt I'd let my wife and children down. I'd almost brought shame on my family, and I kept thinking, God knows what my parents are going to think. What all the perceived success, and it just kept reminding me that kind of nigging, stabbing all the time of, but that's because you're not good enough, and you will never be, you'll never achieve what it is, you'll never be good enough. And I remember waking one morning, and it was a cold but bright winter morning, but I just, when you feel like you need to get out, I felt like I was suffocating. I needed air. I had to leave, and I decided to take a walk to the local woodlands near our home. I went out in the morning, and I'm ashamed to say that there was times on that walk I considered not coming back. And that was a really, really difficult time. I remember walking, it was almost as if it was yesterday. I remember walking along the wooded pathway, and so far along on one side there's a small clearing, and I stepped into the clearing, and it's kind of on the hillside, and it looks out over the town, and I remember looking up, and it was a bright blue sky. There was hardly a cloud in sight, and it just came back to me. It was exactly the same sky that I saw, laying on the roadside after the car accident, looking up, and it was almost like at that moment it just hit me. I could feel this surge, this anger welling up inside me. I had nowhere to turn. I didn't know what to do, and I couldn't control it. It was as if it was kind of burning through me inside, and it needed to come out. And I could remember looking up, and I literally screamed at the top of my voice. I was like, you've done your worst. I'm still here. I'm not giving up, and I'm coming back. I don't know how, but I am. I'm not taking this anymore. I refuse to stay like this. There's got to be more. I was destined for more. I didn't go through all of this to still be here. There's a reason I went through this. And in those few seconds, I kind of felt this huge weight lift from my shoulders. I walked back home. I went straight into the office, and I was looking for some inspiration, and I pulled my copy of Think and Grow Rich from the bookshelf. It was a book that my son had bought me a few years earlier on a holiday, and I'd read it, but I never really got anything from it at the time, I have to say. And I took it and I started to read it, and that day and that night I just couldn't put it down. I read it cover to cover. I kept looking back at things. I couldn't understand how I'd never seen any of the stuff that was in there before. I was seeing things I'd never ever seen before. And people say that you don't see things in a book that you've never seen before. You see things in you. And that was clearly the case for me. And I'd like to say that from that moment on, my life changed instantly and forever. Well, it did and it didn't, if you want the truth. The outside circumstances were still exactly the same. We were still where we were. But it did alter the course of my life forever, that book. It drove me to want to understand more about myself and about success. More about how the mind works and why we behave the way we do, and more importantly for me personally, why some people have success and others don't. And it started me on a journey. I began to read more and research more, and I would read anything that I could lay my hands on that related to success, business, mindset, anything at all in that line. I read books like The Secret, The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles, Working with the Law. I've probably read hundreds of books, but there was still this bit missing. My understanding was improving, my knowledge, but I still always felt that, I had this feeling that maybe I just wasn't good enough. Maybe it wasn't going to happen for me the way it's happened for everyone else. Maybe I shouldn't be in business. Maybe I should go back to the world of work. And because of my situation and the way things were and the circumstances, I took another sales job. I was good at it. Why not? It would help us get back on our feet, was what I told myself. So, sales was something I was good at, business development. I had success again. I worked my way back to being a national sales manager. But I just wasn't happy. I was continually drawn away from the negative environment I was in at work. I kept dreaming about this big wide world of business and entrepreneurship, as this word had developed into, and I just kept wanting more. There was definitely something missing, and I kept going back to this fact that I couldn't seem to put my finger on it, that I didn't know what it was that would make me good enough. That journey that I'd started into the world of, or the industry of what's called personal development, that search, if you like, through my reading and looking for this positive environment, it led me into the network marketing industry, which, I have to say is an amazing industry. Whether people like it or hate it, it literally changed my life. It opened my eyes, and it connected me to others who spoke of having the right mindset for success. I remember listening to people talk about the laws of the universe and other concepts that I'd only just touched on in some of the books I'd read. And again, I immersed myself in it. I read every book I could find on those subjects. I watched countless hours of YouTube videos, and I attended every event and seminar that I could find and could afford to get myself in front, find that what I thought was the missing piece of the jigsaw. And despite having some level of success within network marketing and continued level of success in my career, my work life, I just kept feeling that there's something holding me back. I could have and be and do more, but I just don't seem to be able to get there, and I couldn't quite put my finger on it. And then it was at one of those events that I attended where there was a keynote speaker, and from the second he started speaking on stage, I was hooked. It was as if he was speaking only to me. That moment when everything else is blocked out, it's almost like a spotlight on you and nobody else is there, just me and him. And he talked about this imposter syndrome, and he talked about not feeling good enough, and how you can release the mental handbrake to drive you to success. It literally blew my mind. I've never felt such a connection, such a drive to speak to somebody. And after the event was over, I was on a mission to find him and speak with him, and I did do that. And over the years, he's not only become my mentor, not only did he become my coach and mentor, but he's become a good friend, and we've spoke together at events. But it was through this journey that I really learned about myself. I understood how our belief systems work, and I learned how to eliminate beliefs that aren't serving us, and the techniques to use to implement and develop new beliefs, to create that mindset, that millionaire mindset that everybody spoke about, but no one had ever told me how to do it. No one had ever taken me step by step through the process. But most importantly, I learned that I was always good enough. And I already had the love and respect of everyone who was important to me, including my mother and father, including my wife and children, including my friends and my peers, if they were important to me. And that realisation, it did literally feel like the mental handbrake had been released. The actual realisation that I was already the person that I needed to be. I always had been. I just needed to let that person out. I needed to take that step into me, into as Les Brown would say, you have greatness within you. I needed to step into that greatness. I needed to express who I really was. And the realisation that it was my environmental and genetic conditioning that was forming my view of the world, and that was what was actually holding back. It wasn't anything to do with me. It was just the way that I believed the world should be, and the way that I believed it was affecting me. My belief that everything worked from the outside in. And once I truly understood that, everything literally changed for me. I went back and set up my own business again as a sales consultant. I set a goal to double my income in that business, and I achieved that in 16 weeks. Some people never achieve that sort of level of success. We went on to reach the top 1% of our network marketing company. The top 1%. And, alongside my wife, we've gone on to develop 2 further businesses. And I started to teach other people this information that I'd spent the past 10, 15 years trying to learn, understand, and hone into a system that would allow people who, like me, had felt that they were trapped, that they weren't good enough, to go on and achieve things that they didn't perhaps believe were possible. One of the people I've shared this information with was already at the top level of their company, but they went on to increase their income by 18% in just under 6 months after less than 2 days of working with me in terms of time, and just by understanding one simple concept that I coach about their self-worth. Another of those people I've shared this information with was someone who discovered late in life they were dyslexic. They'd always dreamt of writing a book but didn't believe they could. And in less than 12 months they were a published author. I've worked with many other people, but two of those include two young sports people who had this dream of following their sport for a living professionally, and are both now professional golfers. So I know this information works, not just for me, but it can work for anybody. It had so changed my life and the lives of others that I'd shared it with, that I felt I had to pass it on. It was my duty, my mission to share this information so that other people could feel the way, who had felt the way that I'd felt and struggled the way that I'd struggled, could go on to feel way better about themselves and have the success that they really wanted in their life, to design the life that they wanted. And I now run seminars and events. I have an elite coaching, group coaching program, and I work personally on a one-to-one level with a handful of coaching clients. And I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission to ensure that entrepreneurs all across the world can live their life by design rather than by default. I'm on a mission to ensure that they can be, do and have anything, and I mean anything they want, if they will only give up the belief that it's not possible. That's my story. That's why I'm here today. And that's why I'm talking to people just like you. I'm here to tell you that it does not matter where you are right now. It doesn't matter your background, it doesn't matter your IQ, it doesn't matter where you live in the world, it doesn't matter your current financial situation. Where you are right now is only a reflection of the beliefs and thoughts you've had up to this point. It is not a reflection of your potential. Your potential is unlimited. I'd love to help you realise that potential.